McCarthy. I just wanted to welcome you guys to our program today. I'm the wellness counselor. Thank you, Mike. I'm the wellness counselor here on the campus. We have a number of different wellness programs going on this semester, so we've got our flyers up at the check-in table to tell you about all the cool stuff that's going on this semester. All the events are free, so we encourage you to take advantage of it. And we're going to have some drawing stuff at the end, so make sure you stick around all the way to the end.
And food at the end.
And food is
You can either take it with you or you can eat it now.
So this is, so don't go anywhere. But anyway, as Stacey started to mention, Stacey Smith is an alum of Tungsten. She worked in our awesome financial aid office when she was a student here on the campus. And so
Part of PTK.
she's part of PTK, Phi Theta Kappa, the Honor Society. You all can join if you do really well and you apply. She has gone to Johnson & Wales for culinary, and she's been working in bionutrients, and she'll probably tell you more stuff about her background, but she's just bringing a whole wealth of knowledge to us here today, and she's been doing some research on how we're getting on a budget, so welcome Stacey.
Well, just to give you a little background, my name is Stacey Smith. I, many moons ago, went to cooking school, graduated, had a family, I've worked in the food service business for over 30 years. It's definitely taken a big hit since COVID. I came back to Tunxis looking to get out of the food business, and I did for a while, but I'm back because I feel like my passion is teaching people how important it is to know what you're eating, where it came from, what you're putting in your body, because we are, and as we know, in our country, we're facing a lot of health crises, and COVID really magnified that. And the lines outside of Jersey Mike's during COVID, because all the other restaurants were closed, were crazy. And I noticed that there were so many people that were not prepared to cook a lot at home, and plus people weren't going to the supermarkets. We had supply chain issues. I really would love it if everybody just started their own garden, but I know that's like, it takes a leap of faith, it takes a couple of seeds, it takes some studying and learning, but I'm just putting that out there so that I'm just speaking it, and then you'll hear it and it'll plant the seed. So I started off, I left high school, went to cooking school. My background with cooking was cooking with my grandma. It started off as a chore that I had to, help out in the kitchen. I've done, one of my biggest role models in high school told me one of the most important things I learned in the kitchen, that was she would never expect us to do something that she wouldn't do herself. Because the kitchen is hot, it's messy, you need to be clean, you need to be organized. That's what culinary school really instills in your head, is like showing up clean. You don't have to wear a chef coat at home, but at least an apron. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to start cooking and gotten, it splashes everywhere. Plus it's for protection. Keep yourself safe in the kitchen because we're dealing with hot liquids and things that can splatter. So the purpose of this talk today is, we all know that eating on a budget these days is like super difficult, especially if you're like a beginner cook or you don't cook all the time. And you go to the supermarket and it's like everything is so expensive. So my sister and I did an experiment. I know how to cook, and I can cook a large amount of food and keep the food costs really small. That's like what a successful restaurant wants to do. It wants to make this delicious food that's healthful, and also their food cost is low, so they can make lots of money. And just a disclaimer, I am in no way like knocking restaurants. That's my background. It's provided for my family for so many years. I love going out to eat. I love to sit down and not have to do any dishes, and just talk and laugh. And one of the things about food that I love is that it's a way for us to connect with each other, whether it's with our families. I mean, we all start off as children in our parents' kitchen, whether we're eating McDonald's or we're eating some delicious family recipes. It's a place where we all sit together and we start off bonding over food. So my grandmother asked me when I went to college, why don't you go to school to be a doctor? You're smart. And I was just pulled and drawn to the cooking business. But cooking is something we have to do. We have to eat every day. 1 time a day, 4 times a day, like however many times we eat. But that's something we need to do. And it's not just an act of self-gratification, it's something we need to do for our health. So the more we get educated about new ingredients and what that means to eat healthy, the better off we're gonna feel as we age, and the effects of eating takeout and restaurant food becomes a little bit more magnified. Okay, so on this cart here, we started off with the challenge of how can we meal prep 7 meals for $35? So we went to a few supermarkets in the area, and we went in Bristol, because I figured that's accessible. We're in Farmington, which is close to Bristol. We started off at a Price Chopper and a Stop and Shop, and they didn't know we were doing it. I'm not like a paid advertiser for them on that. They're not my sponsor, but it's just part of the reality if you're not having a home garden and you need to run out for dinner, right? I love the idea of going to a local farm and being part of a CSA, but that's not always something feasible. When you're on a tight schedule, it's usually like, oh, I have to cook dinner, let me stop at the store after work. So we went with the guidelines that we had to spend $35, that was it. And that's hard. I don't know how many people start off when they're shopping with a set budget, saying, I can only spend X amount of money on groceries this week. Or you go and you're like, let me just get a couple of things and leave. By a show of hands, how many people like have a set budget and they know ahead of time before they go in the store, this is how much money I can spend on food? Okay, a couple of people, right? If you said $35, it's not easy. And they don't make it easy, but there are some ways that you can really, we went through the process so that way we can tell you some shortcuts on how to make it quicker. One of the great things we discovered at Stop and Shop was that at Stop and Shop they sell a lot more loose produce, so celery sticks, loose carrots. I know as somebody now, I live home alone, I don't need a 5-pound bag of carrots, or I don't always need a 2-pound bag of carrots. And if you're busy, you might be meal prepping this week, but maybe you have exams coming up, or you're going away on a trip, and you just don't want to purchase a 5-pound bag of apples or something, a bigger economy package. You're going to be paying less money per pound, which is great for cost savings, but when you're purchasing for just yourself, I found that we could get a wider variety of vegetables, because the whole point was to eat healthier. And I know supermarkets often advertise, at the bargain aisle. Some stores put it right in the front. And all of that food is inexpensive, and it's not always the best for our bodies. The approach to food, one of the people I follow him on Instagram, who I always recommend people check him out. His name is Dr. Mark Hyman. He just came out with a book today called Forever Young. And he talks about, as we age, we should be eating and treating our bodies so we can make it to our retirement without not being able to enjoy it. Like the last 20% of our life, a lot of people are getting there in fragile health. And so he's inspired to teach people about eating healthy, some proper habits for mental health, spiritual health, and physical health. So anyway, we had the task of $35, both stores. Stop and Shop gave us the ability to buy a wider variety of, I could buy 3 mushrooms. I don't have to buy a whole package. I don't know how many people here by a raise of hands, you buy a package of mushrooms, you use 4, and then you forget they're in there, and then they all go. Because my other passion, I forgot to mention this, is right now I am the site director for the Northwest Connecticut Food Rescue US. And really quickly what we do is we have a direct transfer model through technology, through an app, where volunteers sign up, and we have food donors who have food that they have excess that they need to donate, and then we have receiving agencies across Northwest Connecticut, like senior housing, food pantries, soup kitchens, and they need the food. So our volunteers who sign up for a rescue, and we try to keep these rescues within 20 minutes of each other, so the food donor and the receiving agency should be very close. You can sign up in the app in 5 minutes, see where these rescues take place, and sign up. You drive there, they put the boxes in your trunk, and you bring them to the receiving agency, they help you unload, and that's it. So you're basically just taking a short trip, that 20-minute donation of time in your vehicle, if you're already going to the supermarket anyway, for example, has a huge impact across Connecticut. There's also a site in Fairfield County, there's a Hartford County site, and we have about, I think it's 40 sites across the United States right now. But it's great because a passion of mine is I don't like to waste food. I hate throwing out food, especially food that's viable. And I have seen firsthand how much food, even from supermarkets, would have been in the dumpster. That's perfectly fine, perfectly edible, nutritious food. And it's now going to people who need it. Because the need across the state of Connecticut right now is growing steadily, especially with the cost of food. That's my little food rescue. I have some more information about that over here. And my lovely sister is wearing our food rescue t-shirt. She also does rescues with me. You could tag team and do it together if you're going out with friends and you want to go to a movie. You could say, let's grab this rescue and we'll drop off the food on our way. You don't really need to know anything. That's the best part about that. What do you think? Okay, so Stop and Shop and Price Chopper. Price Chopper, Stop and Shop gave us the ability to buy loose things on a variety, but the prices at Stop and Shop for other things was more prohibitive. For example, if you want to purchase chicken breast right now on sale, I don't know, well, we're probably all aware of this, but if you buy the giant pack of chicken, you're going to get it at $2.49 a pound. But if you buy the smaller package, it's going to be like $3.49 a pound. So we don't always have that extra money to buy a giant package of chicken. Sometimes if we're on a budget, we can only spend $35, our options are limited. So I bought 2 proteins at Stop and Shop. They happen to have some pork tenderloin on sale. So we got a bunch of veggies, but and I didn't meal prep everything for the Stop and Shop one. But Price Chopper has a butcher department. So you can purchase 1 chicken breast at the same price as they are offering it per pound, which is great. Ground beef, same thing. You can purchase a half a pound. You can tell them how much. I want a quarter pound, I want a whole pound, I want a pound and a half. And you're going to pay the same price per pound as what the packaged prices were. So it wasn't an exorbitant amount of money. And you can choose which one, how big of a chicken breast you want. Which that allowed us a lot more options as far as the proteins went. So we were able to get 4 different types of proteins. We got chicken, we got stew meat, and we got hamburger. And I think that's it. So just to show you, and we got breakfast sausages, that's the other thing. Because eggs, one store we purchased eggs, the other store we didn't. Because at Price Chopper we were able to purchase a half a dozen instead of buying them. So this side right here, this is what we made. These are the meals we made. Plus underneath here is all of the excess for $35. So for $35 we were able to make, the best deal we got was a package of these sourdough bread bowls, which, we're all trying to eat less carbs and less starch, but sourdough is actually really good for you. So sourdough, there were 4 bread bowls in this package, and it was on the reduced shelf for $2, which was amazing. It's still soft. It's not hard as a rock. It's not stale. We made 3 sausage, egg, and cheese breakfast sandwiches, which we grilled the bread, put cheese, sausage on it, so it's ready to go. You can grab it right out of the fridge. We made 2 French toast sticks with sausages and a vanilla yogurt dip instead of maple syrup, so we're cutting down on the sugar. And that was made with sourdough bread. We made 2 meals worth of beef stew, hefty portion. You could literally get like 2 lunches out of that. And this was carrots, celery, potatoes, beef stew, beef stock, and some herbs. Which herbs, spend the $1.29, spend the $2, get yourself a package of herbs, and get yourself some parsley. That is not only a flavor enhancer, but it has phytonutrients, which are it's like that extra boost of health when you're cooking. So it gives you more flavor without having to use extra butter, which I do love butter. Okay, so 2 beef stews, which we have 2 bread bowls left. So that's beef stew in a bread bowl, which we all know if you go out for like soup in a bread bowl somewhere, it's like $12. So we've got 2 beef stews. Then I made a miniature meatloaf, so we've got meatloaf with carrots and a sweet potato that we split between the 2. So that's 2 meals worth of meatloaf. And
Only a half a pound.
that was only half a pound of ground beef. So 2 little portions, that's perfect for one person. Chicken parm, like 3 good pieces of chicken parm. We used the sourdough bread for the breadcrumbs. We used some of the eggs. The eggs we scrambled all at once and used some for the French toast, some for the egg wash for the chicken, and then some in the meatloaf. 2 really hefty chicken parm with cheese.
From only one chicken breast.
From one chicken breast. Right. The key is slice it thin, cut more pieces, and then bread it and put sauce on it, and it's more filling. There is pasta in that, but who can have, I love chicken parm with pasta. We went with bow tie though, because I'm also all about making things interesting and make it fun. Don't always try a different pasta, sounds silly, but it will taste different when you do it. And then we have all this extra. We've got extra pasta, which I tell everybody when you're making pasta, cook it al dente, freeze the rest. When you want to have a bowl of pasta and you come home and you're exhausted, you just literally pour some hot water over that pasta. It's ready to go with some sauce. It's not mushy. You can, when I to save money and not to waste, and to save water, when I boil pasta, I will boil 3 types of pasta in the same water. I just scoop it out of the water. Instead of dumping that whole waste of a pan of water, I scoop it with like a strainer or even a slotted spoon, shock it in some cold water, dump another thing in, and then I freeze the rest. I don't eat all that pasta at once, but now when I want to have pasta, I can have it anytime I want. It's already cooked, just hot water. It's ready to go. Stop and Shop, we made overnight oats with homemade granola, which we still have a whole half container of oats left. I used a half a Greek yogurt with some skim milk and maple syrup and cinnamon and a banana. 6 portions, that's like 6 breakfasts, right? Because the best part about this one is you get 3 breakfasts, but French toast, you could have it for dinner or breakfast. I did we purchased a pork tenderloin, and when you purchase pork tenderloin, you usually get 2 loins in the package. It was only $5. 2 loins. I made a barbecue pork tenderloin with sweet potatoes and zucchini. And I have another one here that we marinated. That's not cooked yet with I purchased a piece of ginger and some cilantro and a lime and hit it with a little bit of soy sauce. That's marinating, that's ready to go. You can make a stir fry with that. Because meal prepping isn't always cooking everything at the time, but it's getting it ready to cook. So that way, Tuesday or Thursday when you come home, you're like, oh, I'll just pop it right in the oven. Because you also have to think about how am I reheating this. I'm a big fan of using glass containers, but for purposes to come here and not having to lift everything glass. But we are raffling off a glass set afterwards. You can pop that right in the oven. You can pop it in the microwave. Whatever it's prepped in, you just take the lid off and it's ready to go. And I also did taco meat. So a whole pound of ground beef for tacos that can feed you once, twice, however taco hungry you are. A package of cheese. And to increase the health benefit, we did shredded cabbage. It has way more of a crunch. It has better flavor. You put the tacos on there, you're getting more nutrients from that cabbage versus iceberg lettuce. And it stays better. Cabbage, you can keep a cabbage in your fridge for I've had one in there for 3 weeks. It's tight together. That's another thing, the biggest enemy of food is air. So when we are bringing food home, take those blueberries, freeze half because you know you ain't going to get to the rest of that package before they go bad, or unless you're making something. So either freeze it or put it in a canning jar, which is also part of my passion. This will keep the air out. Anything you put in this canning jar, put the lid on it, it seals tight. I don't know how many people are familiar with canning jars. Pretty much everybody, yeah. I use them to drink out of. I put my soup in it. I take my food with me. You can microwave it. You use it as a measuring cup because there are measurements on the side. You can bake in it. You can make mini cheesecakes. You can make so you could use it as a cooking vessel to reheat your beverages. You can make cold brew iced coffee in a canning jar. I have a whole slew of them here because it will last you forever. And it's in a small amount of space. If you're spending money, why spend money on a whole set of glasses if you're going to use this for, 5 different things. So, We also have, from Stop and Shop, 2 quart containers of pasta that we cook. I cooked because I was making, one kind of pasta, so I cooked. So now we have pasta in the fridge. Come home, toss it with whatever you have leftovers. I love leftover pastas. And then also we have extra vegetables left over. One of the things that I always do when I'm peeling vegetables and prepping, because I don't like to throw anything out or waste, I put it in a bag and I stick it in the freezer, and you can either compost it if you're going to have a garden, or if you're not going to do that, you can throw all of these vegetable scraps in some water and make yourself a vegetable broth, vegetable stock. It's different than adding water. Yes?
Or you could have guinea pigs or rabbits.
Or, right, even better, it's free pet food.
There's 6 guinea
Right.
pigs.
But it has flavor in it and there's nutrients in it. It might be like, I love the skin of onion when I'm making my soup broth. It has a lot of extra health benefits. The stems of all your herbs have so much flavor, don't ever throw them out. Cook your stock with it, or make your vegetable broth, strain out all the excess, and then compost it. And the nice part is too, I have bears, I'm in Plymouth. If you stick it in the freezer, you can accumulate it and then compost it once you have a good place to put it, so the bears don't take it. Is there any questions so far about this meal prepping? We definitely went in there with a plan, and I have to tell you, I went back and forth several times, no, I can't afford this potato. That's too much. What could we do? And so trying to find things that were the most healthy. The stores now definitely are trying to do things gluten-free. I don't know if there's any gluten-free. I know there's one gluten-free. Nice. Vegan options, a lot of vegan things. That's becoming way more popular, and so they're featuring those things. They're putting them on sale, so it's not always such a struggle. I also just wanted to say a little side note. How are we on time? What time is it? 3 o'clock. Okay, good. We're great. I also have worked for an organization, it's a nonprofit, called the Bionutrient Food Association. And it's something that Amanda has heard me talk about to no end. But it's all about the fact that our soil and the health of our soil is directly correlated to the health of our food. And something that is really shocking, and I don't know if everybody knows this, is the produce that we're growing now, that we have available in the supermarkets now, has a fraction of the nutrient value as it used to back in the 60s. So because of a lot of agricultural practices, excuse me, I need a drink. Our soil is not as healthy, and so something that makes me super passionate is the fact that when we're hungry, our body is asking us for something. Our body is saying, I need nutrients, I need to keep going, I need some gas in my tank. So when we're eating our daily allowance of vegetables, if those vegetables don't have the same nutrient content as they used to, we're going to need to eat more of that. Not because we're hungry, because our body needs it. And if we're not getting it somewhere by taking supplements or trying to improve it, our body is like, hey, excuse me, you need to give me something else because I'm not getting what I need. So the health issue in this country gets me a little bit feisty about what is allowed to be marketed as healthy. Just the easiest way to think about it is if you know where your food comes from, the least processed, because we also try to get not processed food. I had maybe 4 items from the non-perishable. Everything else was either a protein or veggies. It's the outside of the supermarket, like they tell you. That's the first place we went was, let's see what we can get for a protein, get the produce, and then we'll figure out the starch in the middle. A box of pasta is no longer 89 cents, but you can get it pretty inexpensive, and it will stretch out the protein, but if you're adding veggies to it that you're cutting up and you're preparing, you're definitely going to get more nutrients from that. So the BFA taught me so much about building soil health and the soil organisms, right? We've all heard about this gut brain and how we need to improve the health of our microbiome, and the way to do that is by eating foods, right, that also have been fed they have a healthy microbiome in the soil. Because if it doesn't, then what we're putting in our body, we're not getting that. So germ theory says that we should wash everything and sanitize everything, but now we're all learning that we need those healthy bacteria. And that dirt on that vegetable is not as necessarily as bad for you as they once thought. So I'm all about trying to include healthier foods, like eating more cabbages, eating more cruciferous vegetables. But sometimes it's daunting because how many of you have eaten a spaghetti squash? Okay, all right, okay, quite a few. But I mean, how many of you, if you haven't had it, would you buy it to try it? You would.
Any sauce on? Yes.
Put anything on it, right?
Put
That's
anything on it.
right.
Guys, chapter the 10, 11, 12. What's that just for?
Yes. And it's all, the BFA is out also developing the science behind a tool that will be able to measure the nutrient density. So when we go to the supermarket, it doesn't matter if it says it's organic, it doesn't matter if it says it's whatever. It is what it is. And so when we look at 2 tomatoes, they can look like they're exactly the same, but 1 tomato is going to be much more nutrient dense, and as a side effect, taste so much better. I don't know if we all know that fresh grown tomato effect. The polyphenols and the makeup of those vegetables make them more attractive and make them taste better. And a lot of the reasons why, if you eat, I hate to say it, but like, let's just say just regular carrots, they taste bitter. They don't have that natural sweetness. They kind of taste like nothing. So if you can, NOFA, the New England Organic Farming Association, has come up with a grant to help farmers. We all know if you want to have a CSA share, does everybody know what a CSA share is? Community Supported Agriculture, so you pay X amount of dollars up front, and then you get a box of veggies throughout the year that helps the farmer support their farm, but also you get to reap the benefits of locally fresh grown vegetables. And NOFA has come up with a grant so that some of those CSA shares are like $700, and that is like a huge, right, it's like, I'm not going to spend $700 on vegetables this year. But you could get a half a share, and so in order to make it more accessible, NOFA has promised to match funds so that anybody could get a CSA share. All you have to do is ask. But how many of us would ask if we could get a share for less? Like, I wouldn't, right? We don't want to haggle with the farmer. But just so you know, like, check it out, NOFA. I always recommend check out the NOFA website to learn about where there are some farms in our area. Food Rescue, we also work with the Food Hub in Torrington. And they work with local farmers and sell products there. You can order vegetables from there, often cheaper than you can find in the supermarket. It's something that's going to take a little bit more than just stopping at the supermarket. So, I mean, meal prepping is also investing in your health and in your time. It's taking time. I know I went and I had 3 weeks where I refused to eat anything outside of home. And the first thing after those 3 weeks that I ate, I was like, that is terrible. Right? And not because it really was terrible, but we're so used, if you're used to eating clean, we call it eating clean, but I know for a fact restaurants, in order to support a restaurant and sell on a large scale, they have to cut corners. They have to use soup base and a lot more, salt and fat and sugars. And so when you are cooking at home, you control it. You're cooking it's like you're your own personal chef. So if you don't like tomatoes, you do not have to have tomatoes in it. You can make it as, spicy or not spicy as you like. I feel like it's like a science experiment every day. Okay, we're at 3:15. We are going to be serving, I have some healthy hot food here. We've got canning jars that I would like everybody to please take some. We've got paper bags with handles, heavy duty, so they won't clank around. We are raffling off a crock pot. Has everybody used a crock pot before? Yes, crock pot is like part of what we have here. Because I also tried to keep the approach of, with this food, I'm cooking it not as I would cook it in a restaurant kitchen. I mean, I do have some tools here that I wanted to show you guys that are good shortcuts. I did it as I would cook at home. So a crock pot, you can put a roast in that thing, leave it for 5 hours, and come back, and it is delicious. It is like savory, it's got all the juices in there, it locks in the flavor. Fresh herbs, you control what you put in there. A little chicken stock. Excellent. So we have a pork carnitas, which is a pork butt with fresh squeezed Cara orange juice. I don't know if everybody's had a Cara orange before. They're delicious. If you see them at the supermarket, the flesh on the inside, I should have brought some with me, is like it looks almost like a grapefruit, but it's so sweet and delicious. Definitely, I don't buy any other oranges. And Aldi sells them, because that's the other supermarket that I wanted to talk about. Aldi's came into Bristol when my kids were little, because I have to say, I've learned so much more about cooking by having to cook for a family every single day, sometimes 3 meals a day. That taught me the most about cooking on a budget. My restaurant background taught me that I know how to imitate McDonald's Big Mac sauce, so I know how to make that. I can make things taste really delicious with some really simple ingredients if you can understand the balance of flavors. But I don't do recipes. Let's learn how to cook chicken, and then you can put whatever on that chicken you like. If you like tomatoes, put that. If you like cheese, we're going to use that. We're going to use, experiment with different ingredients, different vinegars, different oils. Sometimes it can be prohibitive because it costs a lot, but I always say, what's on sale? Let me look down that condiment aisle and see that yellow sticker hanging off the side. Hey, these are $1.99. Let me try this. Like white balsamic vinegar, delicious. Everybody should try it. It is. It's not as like balsamic vinegar, dark balsamic is really, really astringent. It's really pungent, and it will take over the flavor of everything. But white balsamic has that tanginess. And you won't know until you try it. I say look at recipe books, definitely. Everybody has Pinterest. You can look it up. I still go to there for inspiration. But anybody could write a recipe and publish it online. Anybody can make a cookbook. One of the things I've learned in cooking school was that, there are so many cookbooks out there that have recipes that are going to taste terrible, that the amounts are wrong, that combination really isn't that great, and so many people get frustrated and don't want to cook anymore because they're like, I made it and I don't know what I did, but it tastes awful. So I steer clear. I take something that I really know how to cook well, and I try to incorporate maybe different cultural ingredients, but stay within the same method of cooking. Sorry. Okay, so we've got canning jars. We've got some hot food here. I've got some gluten-free items and some vegan items. We've got roasted veggies. We've got quinoa, pulled buffalo chicken, and pork carnitas. We have corn taco shells, which are gluten-free, and we do have some flour tortilla shells. I've got sour cream and salsa and cheese. Here's another tip: if you ever want to steer away from sour cream, you could use yogurt. I always add a little touch of mayonnaise in there because it gives it that creaminess. But you can repurpose a yogurt. On a budget, you can use half a yogurt for one thing and half a yogurt for something else. I guess that's another takeaway is you have to think outside the box. We're so used to being, told to buy a box of rice, right? We might not need that. And how many people have boxes in their cabinets that they have to toss out after a while because they didn't use it? So, spend some time in your supermarket. And I learned a lot of things about, I still shop at Aldi's. They have a lot of organic, gluten-free options. There's certain things that I really, really love about that, but I'm also able to get a ton of food, fresh food, at a fraction of the price that I would have paid at another supermarket. So, is there any questions? Yes.
Some of my students are having a restriction of the diet when it comes to the type of the meat.
Okay.
I don't eat pork.
Right.
You have something for us?
I have the chicken, but it's in the same chamber as the pork, so I don't know if it's close by. But the veggies and the quinoa are separate.
Okay.
And the tortilla shells are separate.
We have chicken salad too.
Yeah, oh, I forgot, yes. We have a beautiful salad that's got mixed greens, fresh berries, goat cheese, mandarin oranges, tomatoes, cucumbers, with a balsamic dressing that I made for myself. Really quick, I just wanted to show you guys. Does anybody here ever use an immersion blender? Okay, all right, great. It's best investment. You can make whipped cream, you can make a salad dressing in 2 seconds. Oil, vinegar, herbs, you're done. Repurpose those herbs you love. These are some of the leftover herbs we had from the shopping trip, but I like to keep these in a canning jar with a little bit of water over my sink. These will stay, ask her, I just had like cilantro over my, I don't keep them in the sunshine, but you just keep rinsing the water, add scallions, cut all the green tops off, and just put a little bit of water in the bottom of the canning jar. Your scallions will keep growing. You could just keep using the same scallions. Box grater, if anybody is not a fan of chopping things all the time, this is a great, I've had this one forever. But you can slice things, you can grate hard cheeses, grate cabbage if you're not a fan of spending all that time chopping. Not everybody has a food processor or has the time for it. What else? This microplaner, I use the same. I have like 4 of them. I use them all the time. In the restaurant, we use them all the time for zesting. Lemons, you don't always want to add that acidity to what you're eating. Let's just say it's a dessert or on a salad. Use the zest to get the same delicious flavor of the citrus without adding all of that acidity, because that's going to throw off the balance of whatever you're eating. And a little bit of lemon zest on anything tastes amazing. There's some in the vegetables. Let's see, what else? Kitchen shears. I don't know what I would do without these. I think everybody should have them. They're always handy. Everything comes in packages, right? But I use them. A really good peeler. This one I got at restaurant supply store a long time ago. But if you have a really nice sharp peeler, that will also cut your time in half. I use, let's go over a couple different knives I brought here. This knife I've had since, I had this for like 25 years. I had it a really long time. It just keeps an edge really nice. I sharpen mine with a steel. I have a knife sharpener at home, but I also keep mine in the drawer, just for safety, because I had kids and I didn't want them having access. But you can also have like a metal strip to keep them handy where you're cooking, because I guess I should back all the way up. The most important thing when you're cooking is keep yourself clean and organized. Have a garbage bowl like Rachel Ray, like I have this right here, while you're cooking, so that you're not having to carry piles of things to the trash and you're not it's dropping all over the place. Have something handy right within reach so you can put all your scraps in here so you can compost them later or save them. All your tools that you're going to need, we call this in cooking school mise en place, everything in its place. So before you're going to start cooking, wash your hands, put on a nice apron, get your cutting board and the stuff you're going to need, pull your stuff out of the fridge, and keep yourself organized. And if you keep yourself organized as you go, you're going to have less time for cleanup. I always start off a meal prepping session with hot soapy water in the sink, so that as I go, I'm using the same utensils over and over again. If you let me, I would use every single utensil in my kitchen. But I also don't like to do dishes. So wash as you go, keep rinsing, and reuse. The other thing I really wanted to touch on was storage. When you're meal prepping, you cannot make soup and then put that right in the refrigerator, because you will get foodborne illness. I don't know, I didn't even ask. Has anyone here ever worked in a restaurant? Have you had to do the Serve Safe certification class that teaches you about food safety? Okay. It teaches you about properly storing and cooling. So when I made the taco meat, when you're making anything viscous or hot like a soup, I always say slack it out. That's the kitchen term, slack it out. And what kitchens do is they make a pot of rice or pasta, and they put it on a sheet pan. When you slack it out on a very thin metal pan, it's going to cause that to cool off way faster, and then you can store it. You don't want to put all of that hot soup or chili, in canning jars or something, in a smaller container, because the center of that's going to stay really hot for a long time, and then you're going to end up having meal prepping and then not want to do it again because you're not feeling so hot. So make sure that you are not storing your dairy or cheeses. You want to keep that cold as long as possible, but you also want to make sure that as you're putting your meals up, you're going to portion that out and let them have a chance to properly cool before you put the tops on and put them in the refrigerator, because they will not last as long. And you can pop them in the freezer when you're done. If you think you're not going to get to it, canning jars is also a nice way to put them in the freezer. Okay. Any other questions? I think I kind of touched on everything. Salt and pepper, kitchen hack also is keep salt and pepper mixed together in an open container when you're prepping, because every single vegetable I have, instantly chop it up, olive oil, salt, pepper, roast it. You'll have that in your fridge, so you can make an omelet, you can toss it with pasta, and cook all of it, right? That's another thing, like, instead of cooking 2 of the carrots and leaving the whole bag, just cook them all. That way they're already cooked, they're prepped, you can stick them in the freezer, or eat more vegetables, because they're already ready. We do also have some groceries over here at the end. I've got some t-shirt bags. This was some of the stuff that was part of our experiment. We've got some spices there. I also tried to stay within salt, pepper, garlic, Italian seasoning, chili powder, cumin. That's what most of us have. If you have more, I always say buy some weird spices and try it. But we do have some of those spices over here. Feel free to take some. We've got some bags here. For the food, I'm encouraging you to, like, we've got to-go containers. You can take it with you if you don't want to eat now. Take some stuff. Take it home. Okay. Are we ready to eat? Yeah? All right. Let us get some time to get everything ready, and then you guys can come up, and if you have any questions. We're also going to be raffling off the crock pot. There's a set of cutting boards, the glass containers, and the meals. The meals that we
I
prepped.
do have chicken that's not with the pork.
Oh, we have chicken
And
that
left over here.
hasn't been with the pork yet, so if you want some chicken. Alright. Alright guys, I really appreciate you all coming. Is there any questions about anything I touched on or I didn't talk about? Also, bring your own bags to the supermarket or your own box.